Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is great to have you here. I am Scott. This is Carson Plays. We got some big news today. There's been a lot of big news stories this week, one of which was Roman Reigns and kind of where his schedule is and contracts and yada, yada, yada. And I got to tell you, if WWE loses Reigns for a little while, which it looks like they're going to, yikes, because who is WWE going to put in that top dog spot? And if you know anything about WWE, you know that there's one guy at the top, and then they kind of build everything around that top guy. And for the longest time now, that top guy has been the top dog. It's his yard. It's Roman Reigns. So what's WWE going to do without Roman Reigns? I think we're going to find out. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about today, because not only is WWE having its contract problems and scheduling problems, but over on the other side of the aisle, you've got AEW, and a lot of, contracts have come up for AEW recently. You have Cody Rhodes, who left AEW in that sweet executive vice president role to go back to WWE, where he's now flourishing. I kind of talked about that during the Backlash review last week. Shout out to the Backlash review. You should check that out if you haven't. I'll throw a card somewhere in this video. But Cody Rhodes belongs in WWE. It's just a better fit for him. Now, what about Cody Rhodes' old friend? Because reports are coming out that MJF is not too happy with AEW, not too happy with Tony Khan, and not too happy with his contract. Is this a big deal? I think it is. I think it's a big deal, because what AEW has with MJF is the potential, right? MJF has a lot of potential. But anyways, let's get into the news. So about sometime last week, I think it was, maybe it was back in April, I started hearing rumblings. I think it was back in April. I started hearing rumblings that MJF was not happy with his contract in AEW. And I think he either went on Ariel Helwani's show, or there was some show he went on where he basically said, I think it says in the article that it was Ariel Helwani. And he basically said, look, I'm getting paid, X amount of dollars, all right? But these guys I'm feuding with, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. Now, I'm in the ring with these guys. I'm on the mic with these guys. I'm feuding these guys, and I'm carrying, at the very least, and in some cases I think it's more than this number, half of the weight of building this feud. But I'm getting half of the money. Now, you can decide for yourself whether or not you think that's fair. You can decide for yourself whether or not you think, listen, MJF, you signed a 5-year deal with AEW. And you knew going into that deal what your salary was going to be, and you signed for that. So you signed on the bottom line, knowing your salary. You accepted that at the time. That was plenty of money for you. And now you want to complain about the money because you think you deserve more. Now, you can go either way on that, right? You can say, look, MJF is a top talent. He's proven himself. A lot of people didn't know who MJF was originally when he signed with MLW, came from MLW, and he was coming to AEW. A lot of people didn't know what he was all about. Now that people know what he's about, they know how talented he is. He's worth that money. They should re-sign him at a higher rate. Now, you can think that, and I think that's fine. You can also think, listen, hey, MJF's going to honor his deal. It is what it is. It would be foolish of AEW not to offer him more money when that deal is up. So it's likely that AEW is going to throw some more money at MJF. You can think that too. That MJF really doesn't have a reason to be upset right now because he signed a contract. But really, none of that matters at the end of the day. And what matters is MJF's perception of what's going on. Because MJF is the one who has to sign his name on a contract. But let's go ahead and read the article, and then we'll talk a little bit about what this means, kind of what the fallout here is. So this is F4W Online. This is Figure 4 Wrestling Observer, reporting from Fightful. So this originally was reported from Fightful. According to Fightful Report, Thursday afternoon, there are still some hard feelings between MJF and AEW that may be leading the young star to look elsewhere in less than 2 years. In the report, they said he is leaning towards leaving AEW as of now when his deal is up. The same website reported that during a heated April discussion with AEW head Tony Khan, MJF wasn't happy about his contract situation and the pay scale as of that conversation, and we're told the situation left him soured on many things. So, actually, it was a March interview, as you can see a paragraph down, that MJF did with Ariel Helwani, and that interview was not approved. Now, it's important to note, MJF's deal is not up until 2024. So even if MJF is currently leaning right now towards going to WWE, he's not going to have the opportunity to do that until his contract's up. The biggest question we have here is, does this really matter? And in the grand scheme of things, I think it does. Because I think what AEW has with MJF is a future top heel. I mean, he's already performing as a top heel for the company. But the potential in MJF is where the greatest value is. Because MJF is probably only going to get better as his career matures. So take MJF and what you see on TV and what you have right now, give that MJF 10 years of experience, 5 years of experience, and you've got a more experienced guy in the ring and a guy who can cut incredible heel promos, who can really get a crowd to boo him, and who's not afraid to make some edgy statements along the way to get that heel heat. Now, if WWE gets him, let's say WWE throws $5 million at MJF. They say, here's $5 million if you sign with us for 5 years. And MJF says, hell yeah, I'm doing that. Sign that deal. Well, MJF goes over to WWE. The biggest question you have to have is, does WWE misuse MJF? Can they book MJF correctly? Can they use MJF for all of the talents that he has, all the potential that he has, and can they reap all of that potential out? Because they're probably going to have to tone down the character of MJF a bit, and then what do you get? Do you just get The Miz? Isn't The Miz just a watered-down MJF? Isn't MJF just a Miz that's amplified and allowed to say more controversial things? Because they're very similar. They're very similar in their characters. So I don't know. That's the bigger question, But for MJF, maybe that doesn't matter. Because it seems like MJF's saying, show me the money. I want to see them dollars. And if you can show me them dollars, I'm signing my name on the bottom line. MJF might not care about the company misusing him. It might not matter. Because you have a limited amount of time as an athlete that you're able to perform. And you want to get the most out of that time. And if WWE says, here's $5 million, okay. Can AEW match that? Would AEW be willing to match that? Especially as AEW has had to have been throwing out big contracts to get some of the talent that they've gotten off the market. There's just a lot of questions here. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is his deal isn't up until 2024. So right now, while he might be leaning towards going to WWE, it doesn't mean he's going to end up there because a lot can happen between now and 2024, right? Maybe TNT, maybe Discovery, who I believe owns Warner Media now, Discovery gets involved and says, you are not letting this guy go. We'll throw whatever money we have to at this guy, but you are not letting him go. There's possibility there. Ultimately, I think wherever MJF ends up, us as fans should be happy for him. I mean, he's done a lot of work to build himself as a heel. He's got interest from everywhere. That shouldn't surprise anyone. And wherever he ends up is where he ends up. But it's definitely a story that's worth monitoring going forward because it does change the landscape a little bit, right? But you should also keep in the back of your mind that this could be a giant work. MJF is very good at working the crowd and very good at generating heel heat. And right now, if you're an AEW fan, there's probably nothing more heelish than promoting, supporting, and loving WWE. Look at the reaction Cody gets. From the WWE fans, Cody gets cheered and lauded, and people love him. From the AEW fans, he gets booed and maligned. AEW fans do not support Cody Rhodes' decision to go back to WWE. They see it as a betrayal. And MJF playing that up, and he's done so on television, does lead me to kind of believe like maybe we should just grain of salt this news and take this as MJF playing up his dickish heel character because he's very good at it. So you have to keep that in mind. This could all just be a giant work. And MJF being friends with Cody, playing that up, if he continues to play this up and dial it up each month, and as we get closer to 2024, it's likely a work. But just keep that in mind. This could be real, but this could also be a work. Anyways, let me know in the comments section below what you think. Is this a work? Do you think it's real? Do you think MJF should go to WWE? What is his landscape in AEW? Let me know in the comments section below. Please like, share, subscribe, do all of the things because it really, really does help the channel, and we're trying to build here. And I thank you for coming along with me on this journey to build. Thank you very much. We got some UFC content this weekend, and I might do a live stream about wrestling news on Sunday. I don't know yet. We'll see. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.